Today, we're diving into India's absolutely booming biodiesel sector. And we're going to do that by looking at two major players going head-to-head. You've got the established giant, Kotyark Industries, and then you've got the agile newcomer, Rajputra Biodiesel. It's really a classic story of scale versus strategy.
All right, let's just start with a number, a really big one, 42.8%. You know what that is? That's the compound annual growth rate for biodiesel buying by India's big oil companies just from 2020 to 2024. I mean, that's not just growth, that's a flat-out explosion. And it really sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. So, what's fueling this incredible demand? Well, it's all part of India's massive green energy race. The country is pushing and pushing hard to lock down its energy future and, at the same time, shrink its carbon footprint. And that has created a kind of gold rush for any company that can produce cleaner fuels. Now, what's so interesting here is how the government is pretty much engineering this market from the ground up. The national biofuel policy isn't just some friendly suggestion. No, it has real teeth. They've set a target of 5% blending by 2030, and there are actual penalties for the big oil companies if they miss that target. So what's the result? The government has basically guaranteed a huge, competitive, and really urgent demand for biodiesel. So you've got this huge government-created demand, and that, of course, creates a battlefield. And on that battlefield, two really interesting contenders have stepped up, each with a totally different game plan for grabbing a piece of the action. So let's meet them. So you look at them on paper, and at first glance, you might think, okay, pretty similar. Both started back in 2016. But the devil is always in the details, right? Look at production capacity. Kotyark is an absolute behemoth. We're talking more than 10 times larger than Rajputra. Rajputra, on the other hand, is the new kid on the block, just hit the public markets, and is already signaling they're thinking beyond just biodiesel. Right there, that tells you the core difference in their DNA. But, capacity is one thing. How it all translates to the bottom line, that's a whole other story. So let's see how these different approaches actually stack up when you look at the cold, hard numbers. Okay, no surprises with the top line. Kotyark's massive size means its revenue just dwarfs Rajputra's. But here, this is where it gets really interesting. When you look at how profitable they are, the picture gets a lot more complex. Yeah, Kotyark makes more money overall, but Rajputra's performance, relative to its much smaller size, is actually pretty impressive. Just look at that earnings per share. They're not that far apart. And this is really the key takeaway from the financials. If you just looked at that top-line revenue number, you'd miss the real story. Kotyark's profit margin is hovering around 5%, while Rajputra's is almost 9%. That's a huge difference. It kind of suggests that Rajputra might be running a leaner, more efficient operation for its size, while Kotyark is all about playing the volume game. So, how do they do it? How do they get such different results? Well, it all comes down to their fundamental strategies and what they're truly good at. Let's break down what makes each of these companies tick. Kotyark's game is all about one thing: scale. Just massive, overwhelming scale. Their biggest weapon is this huge production facility they designed themselves. And get this, a lot of it isn't even being used yet. That means they can ramp up production in a huge way without having to spend a ton on new buildings. And on top of that, their founders come from a background in vegetable oil trading. These guys know how to source raw materials. It's a powerhouse built for pure volume. Now, Rajputra, being the smaller player, has to play a different game. Their edge is being nimble and making really smart, diversified moves. They've built really solid relationships with the big government oil companies, and they're already expanding into a super promising area: compressed biogas, or CBG. Plus, they have this Vera certification for carbon credits, which is basically a whole separate asset they can sell. They're not just making fuel, they're building a whole modern green energy portfolio. And all of this leads us to the most critical question: where do they go from here? They've had different journeys so far, and it looks like their futures are set to split off even more dramatically. Kotyark's strategy is, well, beautifully simple and powerful. Specialize and optimize. They are not chasing every new shiny object. Nope. They are doubling down, hard, on what they already do best, and that is making absolutely massive amounts of biodiesel as efficiently as humanly possible. And their roadmap is just ruthlessly efficient. Step 1. Fire up the rest of that huge, underused factory. Unleash the beast. Then, with that incredible scale, they can move to step 2. Go after and win those massive government contracts. And finally, step 3 is to lock down their supply of raw materials for the long term. It's a classic, focused plan to just dominate through sheer industrial power. Rajputra, on the other hand, is taking the exact opposite approach. Their whole strategy is to expand and diversify. They don't see their biodiesel business as the final destination. They see it as a launch pad, a foundation to build a much broader bioenergy empire.
So their roadmap is this really clever balancing act. Step one, sure, they're going to beef up their core business, squeezing more output from their current biodiesel plants. But step two, that's the big bet on the future, jumping into the high-margin compressed biogas market. This isn't just about growing. It's a strategic move that creates a whole second engine for the company. It's a dynamic two-pronged attack.
And you don't have to take my word for it. This quote from their managing director, Sarthak Soni, just says it all. Their goal isn't just to be a biodiesel company. It's to become an integrated player in the bioenergy space. I mean, that one phrase perfectly sums up their ambitious, diversified vision for what's next. So here's where we're left. Two very different companies on two very different paths. Kotyark is betting everything that sheer scale and relentless focus will conquer the market. Rajputra believes the future belongs to the agile, the quick, the diversified players. And that brings us to our final question. In a market as fast-moving and as important as India's, which strategy is ultimately going to win the race, the specialist or the diversifier?